Good morning, Unity Athens!
Morning, Debbie Schrodt.
How are you doing this morning?
Well,
I feel loved by the ones I hold so dear. And when my family needs me, I promise to be there.
We see blessings on Unity Athens, on everyone here, on those that are on our minds and on our hearts.
Is Prayer for Autumn Days by Sister Joyce Rupp. God of life, you believe in us, you enrich us, you entrust us with the freedom to choose life. For all this, we are grateful.
The word for today is prosperity. I am grateful for the many ways prosperity expresses in my life. My prospering thoughts find expression in my life in many ways. I enjoy an abundance of love, peace, health, and happiness.
And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. Peace be still, I am enough. Peace be still, I close my eyes and lift my hands up. Peace be still.
Dominated by Halloween. Ask any child under the age of 70. Oh, no, better include 72. That's where I'm at now. What are you going to wear for Halloween? What are you going to go as? What are you going to do? Paige was telling me in the back room her choices of costumes, and that was very exciting to listen to them. I'll let her tell us later if she so chooses. Now, often in October, I think about the things that go bump in my night. Things that worry me, things that seem a little scary, things that might bring up fear for me. Certainly we get a lot of that on the news and in day-to-day conversations. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with the thoughts that we aren't happy with? And sometimes the only thing we're afraid of is our own thoughts, perhaps, or the idea of our own limitations, or the idea that life is not unfolding perfectly, or it doesn't look like it. We talk a lot in the new member class, as I mentioned, about Ellen Davenport's book, The 5 Principles. She says this: most people wrap their fears around them like a coat of armor. Picture that. Maybe you don't want to. Wrap their fears around them like a coat of armor, somehow assuming that fear and worry protect them from what might happen. You want to say that with me? What might happen? Ooh, pumpkins in my mind. But fear is a magnet that draws to us exactly what we don't want. Law of attraction, law of mind thinking, creative thought. Fear is a magnet that draws to us exactly what we don't want. Job said, "What I feared has come upon me, what I dreaded has happened to me." In the book of Job 3:24. We do sometimes seem to wrap our fears around us like a cloak. Talk about them, hang on to them, worry about them, spend nights not sleeping, bless you, because of them. Waking ourselves up and thinking, got thinking about that again. Try not to think about it. Do you do that? Try not to think about it, try not to think about it, try not to think about just thinking about it. Try not to think about it, try not to think about it, and we're thinking about it. Bless you. I was required to read all the Bronte books as a very small child, since part of my namesake. Jane Eyre, picture those Gothic novels, people walking around at night with only their candlestick to lead the way. Maybe somebody in the attic. Maybe something in the corners. If this room was totally dark, it would be hard to see into all the corners, wouldn't it? The candle. Imagine it's beautiful in the dark. But it doesn't go very far. I guess if I was going up a flight of stairs in a house where maybe the lights were off or some power was off, I'd be holding it out in front of me as far as I could. And I think we do that sometimes with our fearful thoughts, our vague and dark imaginings of what could happen. Our worries about the world, political arena, our planet, all those kinds of things. Wrapping them around us like a cloak. And then holding out a candle to try to see better. But there are better options. Give you a little piece of the story and I will finish it later. I'll turn on another bright light. Doesn't quite do it either, does it? A little LED candle. I like to do a spoiler alert, but I don't like to tell stories that have unhappy endings, so this does not have unhappy ending, but we'll give you the ending a little later. I'm on Facebook. It's sort of the Reverend Bronte page where I do a lot of connecting with people, and I see a woman posting this. She lives in California in the Los Angeles area. She has a 21-year-old daughter that's out east. I got a call from a state trooper in New York late last night, and my daughter was in a horrible accident. She rolled her car a few times trying to avoid a head-on collision. I'm on my way to New York and breathing at LAX, Los Angeles Airport now. She has a fracture on the C6 vertebrae and wrist, and they're doing more tests, but the fabulous news is she does not have a brain bleed or brain bruising. So this woman gets this call in the middle of the night. And you can imagine the fear. I mean, and that's certainly understandable, wrapping it around you like a cloak, thinking the worst, and she's far away and she's got to get over there. She said Delta was amazing because she was trying to quickly make a plane trip to New York, and she picked the wrong day and the wrong flight and the wrong time, and just they fixed it all for her because they knew her angst. Come to find out, this is a woman that is deeply rooted in metaphysics. Has a book out, does amazing radio shows. Didn't know that when I first saw the post. Her daughter had been driving back from a concert where she went by herself, and her mom had even asked her and talked to her just before the concert, are you taking a friend? She said, no, I'm going to go by myself. It's kind of like the first miracle there. Someone else had been in the car. Might not have happened that way, or could have been worse. And as she was driving along, she had a rental car. She chose a Jeep for some reason. And somebody from coming toward her went into her lane. So she swerved to avoid the oncoming car and flipped multiple times. Flipped. The car was totaled. The daughter said later she does not remember getting out of the car, walking to the nearest house, where she collapsed on the front porch. People were home, they saw her, they got an ambulance to take her to the hospital, which was 30 miles away. The daughter was able to call her mom and say, I'll be all right, don't come out here. Mother didn't listen. Yeah, parents don't usually listen to those kinds of things. Fear wrapped around you like a cloak, okay? And it doesn't have to be that kind of fear. It can be other fears in our lives, just worry, doubt, projecting into the future things that may never happen. Family stuff, personal stuff, world stuff, like we mentioned. We're going to pause that story for a moment. Ellen Davenport, we create our own misery through our belief in adversity and the power we give it to destroy us. We create our own misery through our belief in adversity and give it power to possibly destroy us. It's as if we let ourselves be trapped in a dark room, agitated and fearful, yet never reaching for the light switch. Have you ever done that? I know I have, but we do have light, do we not? When I walk my dog at night, I use this little flashlight. I had a bigger one. It doesn't give a lot of light, and the batteries rattle around in it. They didn't used to, but it kind of goes off and on. But it's usually enough to cut through the darkness. But there are other options. Better flashlights, better ways of seeing things. Well, so that's not too bright either. You can barely see it, but a little bit of light. But there's always a brighter light. Thank you, prop master BJ. I'll have to get one of these myself. Look at this amazing light. This is you, my friends. Look at that light. I'll talk to BJ after the service. She probably should have a cottage industry selling things that she props for us. Look at the light in that. That's you. That is how bright your light is in a room full of darkness. That is what you carry into the world. We have a choice. Wrap ourselves in that black cloak of fear and doubt and worry. And we have a choice to turn on our light a little bit. And sometimes that's the best we can do, is it not? Sometimes we get a boost, or a friend will see that light in us and take it up a notch. Sometimes we're meditating or practicing these principles, or just we get a whiff or a download of that God stuff, and we know everything is going to be all right. Okay, don't go out on me now. There we go. We know everything's going to be all right. Then we get that brilliance. Then we get that light. David, could you get the light now, please? Thank you very much.
And if you want more light.
More light. And then we said, let there be light. Ellen said this too. Imagine living instead with our oneness with God. Life would still have its human difficulties, but our view of them would be changed. Rather than battling an outer enemy, we could take charge of our lives, and we would take charge of our lives from within. We would transcend our labels of what is good or bad, what is fear, doubt, and worry. Labels of good and bad, is it not? Our labels of good or bad. Okay, where's my spot here? Okay, totally lost it. Maybe it wasn't on here. And live in the flow of the universe. Nothing might change in our outer circumstances but our interpretation of them, our understanding. And then it would all take on new meaning. So that is the way, that is the brilliant light of looking at things from a different viewpoint, from an understanding that God is in everything. God's in everything. This book is full of that philosophy, as is most of Unity and New Thought teachings, law of attraction. It's good in everything. Sometimes it's a distance thing, or we look back on it from the future and go like, oh, well, that was really good. Sometimes it's a strengthening thing when we move through things. Look at all the people in this world today that are taking well-being into their own hands and making it happen. It's incredible to me. That's what I like to see on the news. Life is consciousness. Life is consciousness. What we hold in mind shows up as our reality. And she says this: what if it were possible to rise above such human travails and live effortlessly with an attitude of love and compassion for yourself and others? This, I believe she means not just once in a while, but all the time. What if you could hold on to thoughts and feelings so positive that only good would be drawn into your life? What if you could clear out the debris of the past and any fears about the future so thoroughly that spirit could shine from within you? You. You are that light, and you light up the world. That is the point of spiritual growth. It is living from the Christ self, that Christ light that we talk about within, making decisions from the higher self, loving with the unconditional, inexhaustible energy of the divine, zeal, there's that zeal word, sizzle, contributing to the well-being of the planet. It is to express effortlessly who we really are. Every human being, she says, knows this self already, at least to some extent. It is the inner witness that watches your life unfold and is conscious of your existence. It is the intuitive nudge that prompts you to take an unexpected turn in life, even if you ignore it, and that propels you to be more and better. It is the still, small voice that is sometimes as difficult to distinguish as a whisper at a rock concert, more sense than heard, and yet persistent. Back to this mom, Marissa Pai, P-E-I. She's the author of 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. Great title. Radio talk show host at I Hear Radio and talk show host at KCAA Radio. So, she had 580 people praying for her daughter on Facebook. She's got a large following. So grateful. Michael Beckwith is a friend, the whole church was praying. She says this: so another miracle. Now that the medical trauma is over and we have the best case scenario for my daughter's horrific accident, no brain swelling, bleeding, no paralysis, fractures in one neck vertebrae and one wrist, both expecting full recovery in 6 weeks, no surgery or brace. I think that's about 8 miracles right there, considering the Jeep rolled multiple times. She has no memory of pulling herself out of it and getting to that porch at midnight in the dark. The greatest news is that there's something in New York that's not in California called no fault, where they don't look for blame, they just take care of all the medical bills up to $50,000, which, fingers crossed, will be more than enough to cover the ambulance and hospital, especially since we get to be discharged today. It was like 2 days after the accident. In 6 weeks, the cast will be off. The plethora, she says, of love and prayers launched in our direction helps strengthen my, she calls it blissipline instead of discipline. Talk about a writer. Blissipline, which knows that everything, even the hard stuff, chisels us into more beauty and expands our hearts for even more love. One other quote from her: a week or a year knows what a day doesn't. Talk about fear, worry, doubt. A week from now, a year from now, knows things about what's going on in your life that today doesn't. What a beautiful story. And I asked her permission. You know, that's the beauty of these connections we make online. I was able to send her a note and say, can I talk about this Sunday? She said, yes, you know, maybe I can come there for a book signing sometime. So that would be great. Or maybe you would just like to order her book. But that kind of energy, sure, scary stuff sometimes. It's how we walk through it. It's who we have supporting us. That, to me, is why we come to Unity Athens and other places like this, to connect, to share energy, to be around others of like mind, to pray, the prayer chaplains, and to hold that consciousness that we are, indeed, in control of our lives. Yet we have that incredible, incredible connection to spirit, that wherever we're walking on our path, wherever we are walking on our path, Spirit is with us.
And yea, though I walk through the shadows of death, I will fear not, I will fear not, I will fear not, I will fear not, I will.
Thank you for being here today, always.
Sun and stars don't shine, I will be grateful. As an example for mankind, I will be grateful. I don't think anyone will mind if I live my best life gratefully.
The names on our prayer list, the names on our prayer box.
I sent my
See
love
Mother Earth balanced and healthy and whole.
into the heart
Our flora and our fauna adjusting to doing well. See blessings on the children across the globe, safe in their homes, safe in their schools. See blessings on the United States of America.
I sent my love
Indonesia,
over the sea.
Turkey,
I sent my love